Well, good morning, Oklahoma, and welcome to Cow-Calf Corner this week. We are joined this week to talk about flies by Dr. Justin Talley. It's been an interesting spring in Oklahoma. I think a lot of us in the cattle business were optimistic after that cold weather in February that we might see some reduced insect load as we came into the spring and summer, and that's really not proven to be the case. And Dr. Talley is going to explain a little bit more about how and why that works. Justin, tell us about flies.
Yeah, Mark, when we think about flies, Oklahoma is in that ideal area that we're going to get a significant fly population, really regardless of what's going to happen in the winter, because our springtime temperatures and even our summertime temperatures are always conducive for fly development. And as you go further east into Oklahoma, we have humidity levels that are going to be just ideal for both ticks and flies, but specifically this year for flies. Our two main flies this time of year are horn flies and stable flies. Stable flies typically come in the spring and then taper off in the summer and then come back in the fall. They're kind of a cooler season type fly, and they're all coming from our old hay feeding areas. So all the hay we fed during that really cold time period during the winter, if there's still old hay residue that's out there, it's harboring stable flies. And then when we think about our most important external parasite of beef systems, it's the horn fly. And the horn fly is a small fly that feeds on the back, down the side to the underside of the animals. And they'll feed on calves, they'll feed on cows, they'll feed on bulls, and every part of the beef system the horn fly prefers. And they're developing in the fresh manure pats. And so out in the middle of the pasture, and that's why some of our technologies that you can administer through a mineral like an IGR, they're still really good technologies, and it's a really great way to suppress your overall horn fly population. But overall, horn flies have the biggest impact.
What can we do? I mean, in a lot of cases we have ran out of places to spread manure. We're still dealing with some of those. What could be done with any of those to potentially dry them out?
Yeah, so when we think about hay feeding areas, you want to just be able to kind of get under that initial hay layer. Once you get under that hay layer, disturb it, allow it to dry out. That's going to be the best thing to reduce our stable fly population. And so typically what we try to recommend is if you drag some kind of implement through those areas and just drag it through there until you probably see a little bit of soil. And once you see the soil, you know you've gotten to that moisture layer where the stable flies could be developing. So you essentially go out there, drag something through it so it'll dry out. And then for horn flies, our number one type of application are pour-ons, because they're easy to use and they're already formulated to put directly on the animal. The challenge with that, though, is that those are only going to give us about 3 weeks at most. Another thing for horn flies are ear tags. And when we think about ear tags, it's resistance that we have to really address. So when we think about insecticide ear tags, it's all about rotating, and it's a year-to-year rotation. So you put that in. We determined that if you tag cattle in Oklahoma mid-May to mid-June, that's probably your optimal time period to get an ear tag in. Because in Oklahoma, our fly season seems to be getting longer and more intense. Whereas, our peak flies were always occurring in August, but it seems like our season keeps getting later and later, so we still have a significant amount of flies on cattle in September. So if you can wait till that late May or June period to put an ear tag in, it's going to provide that control for you up into those critical months such as August and September.
Well, Justin, I appreciate you joining us this week. Good talking to you, and thank you all for joining us on Cow-Calf Corner.